Ich verstehe es nicht. Bauduarbeit, Tutorials.
Hello guys, welcome to the English version of the Fix tutorial. This was much requested. This is just a voiceover and is not from the ground up. Such tutorials will follow later. Also, this is a very basic tutorial showing some basic functions, and more in-depth stuff is gonna come at a later time. MassFX replaced Reactor in 3ds Max 2011, and unlike Reactor, it's based on a physics engine made by NVIDIA, which makes it a little bit better on NVIDIA cards, to be honest, but ATI cards perform pretty good as well. It is used to create physics simulation in 3ds Max, and without further ado, let's jump to the tutorial. So the first question is, how do I get my MassFX toolbar? I just right click up here, and there is the MassFX toolbar, and voila, there it is. That's pretty much it, and the end of the tutorial. Bye. Nah, just kidding. By standard, MassFX has enabled the use ground plane, which means that this grid and everything around it is seen as the floor and everything will collide with it. I'm just gonna show it right here. Let's create a sphere. Larger sphere, smaller sphere, doesn't matter. And let's just click here. I'm not gonna say what I'm doing, I'm just gonna show you the collision. It's falling down. And boom. See? That is very useful if you have a floor that is just there, but sometimes you want it different, so you can just uncheck it. So now to give you an overview, we're gonna go up here where the rigid bodies are and gonna hold click on it. There is 3 objects, the dynamic rigid bodies, which are pretty much what you're gonna calculate your simulation with. The stuff that's falling around, dropping down, whatever. The kinematic objects, which are objects that have caged some simulation, you auto-keyed it, whatever, and after some time the simulation has to take over. And there are the static rigid bodies, that are basically objects that don't move, but everything collides with them. Okay, that's for the overview of the rigid bodies. And now let's go to an example. Just create a small sphere or a bigger sphere, whatever. And let's make a hemisphere out of it. And don't use slice. Use hemisphere. Yep. Then let's turn it around. If you press A, you're gonna have the angle snap. And every 5 degrees gonna snap. Let's drag it up. And I'm gonna make a bowl out of it. That's why I'm gonna convert it to editable poly. Select the faces. Just drag over here, press Alt to deselect this, and delete. Now it's not a bowl yet, we have to put the shell modifier on it to give it some thickness. And in this example there's gonna be a little problem, at least I'm expecting a problem. Just make it a little bit thicker. And let's create some objects like cornflakes, whatever. Just about a few spheres, box, just some objects. Now that's all in one plane, but that doesn't matter. Make it a dynamic rigid body. So, boop. Click the sphere, and the sphere is gonna be a static rigid body. and simulate it. And I expected a problem here, but with static rigid bodies, that problem isn't here. In the German version, I'm a little bit confused. Here, I already know what's happening. So the main problem is if this thing is dynamic, kinematic. But now if you look, it's just falling down in the sphere, in the bow. And woohoo! That's the first simulation. And now I'm gonna try to replicate the problem. Also, the movement is not saved because I'm just like simulating it, not baking it, which I'm gonna explain later. And now to show the kinematic rigid body, I'm just gonna change the rigid body type of the sphere and just auto key it. Go here, move it there, a little bit farther, move it back. And now it's moving. Da-da. And just go on the end back. And now for the simulation, I think it's gonna have a problem. At least I know because I did the tutorial already. See? It's falling on top of it. That's not what we want. It's floating on top. And that's because the mesh is not right. It's the wrong mesh. It's to simplify it. Gonna see down here. Oops, that's the wrong thing. So if I go on the mesh type, you see there is custom. Not custom, sorry. Go composite, and then you can generate the mesh. Now here you can change how exact the whole thing is, the whole cage, but this is gonna be fine for now. So I'm gonna click generate. It's generating, and there you go. You see the orange thing, the orange cage. This shows the collision. Now if you see the cage, it's gonna have a surface here, and that's where the objects collide now. So with the magic, I'm gonna simulate this. And I totally made the whole simulation too slow and everything too big. That's why it's super slow, but at least it's landing in the bow. And now let's just change that a little bit. Just select the objects. If it lets me, oh, I'm still in sub-object mode. Let me get out of it for now. Yep, go to top level and just drag him down. And let's get going. Boom, boom, see it flying. It's beautiful. It's like fireworks. Was a little fast maybe, but oh well. So that's the basic things. You can play with that, just a few simulations, but there is more stuff. Let's reset everything. Nope, I don't want to save, and yes, I want to reset, thanks. Now let's go to joints. In this case, I'm gonna use the ground plane. Let me see. Let's do it. Let's remove the ground plane. And just create a big box. Give it a little thickness. And I know I'm most of the time doing things way bigger than they are. I don't know why. Everything's bigger in Texas, I guess. So let's create a cylinder and copy it with Shift. Drag it. Whoop. Now we have 2 cylinders. Position it. Yep. No. I wasn't happy with that, I guess. Let's drag it over. Yep. And copy. And now let's select. What did I do there? I couldn't decide, but there's a box I create. Just drag it up and move it where I want it at the beginning. And now you think, what the heck is he doing here? I'm gonna show you. Just mark the 2 objects and go to joints. So now let's go to constraints. There is a rigid constraint, which doesn't move at all, it doesn't do a thing. There is a slide constraint, which acts like a piston, it can move in and out. There's a hinge constraint, which just can move in one direction. There is a twist constraint, which just can twist, obviously. There is a universal constraint, which can move in any direction, but it cannot twist. And there's a ball constraint, which can move in any direction and can twist. In this case, I'm gonna go with the ball constraint because it's the most free one. So I'm gonna click it and let's make it rigid bodies first. Go dynamic rigid body, and this one is gonna go kinematic. And now let's try again. Ball constraint. Now it's not where we want it to be, but that's not a problem. We're just gonna drag it over. And now if you look here, you see this green thing is the space in which it can move. You see here in the 3D view, it's just like half a sphere. This is the space in which it can move. So this time it's sideways. So we're just gonna select it and turn it. Turn angle snap on with A. And there we go. Also, this plane back there is the twist. So I'm gonna explain how it works. This is the twist. So if you go here and turn twist on locked, free means free, and limited is where you can say, okay, 45 degrees in one direction, 45 degrees in the other direction. And locked means locked. So I actually did something wrong here. I put the wrong thing on free, which is this wing. So let's go to limited again and turn this one on free. So now this hinge should be alright. So let's repeat the whole process. Click this, and click the constraint. Okay, and now turn it again. So now let's animate the box. Turn on auto key. So you're gonna go there, you're gonna turn this direction, then later you're gonna turn the other direction a little more, and also you should move while doing that. So let's drag it over here, go further, drag it on here, and now you're gonna say nothing's moving with it. What's the point of this? Well, MassiveX is gonna do the rest. and click on it, and this is not what it's supposed to be doing. So one problem here is that there is no ground plane, and I didn't put the box to a static rigid body. So let's go again, and you're gonna see another epic fail, which I'm gonna basically show after a cut, because in the German version I'm trying to figure out what I did wrong. So let's jump to the cut. So after this cut, I'm thinking like, what did I do wrong? I failed somewhere, I don't know where, but I figured it out. Okay, let's see. I switched parent and child. The parent is the object from which the move to which the child is connected, so the parent moves and the child follows, and I actually switched them, so let's delete them. Select the box, it's the parent. Select the child, it's the cylinder. And also another problem is, see this, it's like it's ignored and it's turning the wrong direction and totally confusing. And you can think, how is it going and why is it doing that? But you don't have to think with me. Look here. It's inside the object, so let's just drag it over, get it a little closer to the box, and let's look at it again. Yeah, beautiful. A little slow because it's enormous in 3ds Max space, but that's a problem I always have, and I always have to change gravity or something. You should just do right sizes. Okay, now let's explain a little more about the hinges. I already explained the twist, but other things are, you have 2 axes. You can limit lock free, like I already said. And this way you can create pretty much all presets. You can put the bounce, put the spring, everything. Let's see, let's focus on this hinge. So if I say, okay, just 80 degrees too much, let's make it smaller, and the visual feedback is awesome here. You see it's like squished, which means that it just can move in there. And now let's make it smaller, make it bigger, you see. So pretty much every hinge is the same, but with other presets. So now I have a hinge, and now it's a ball and hinge again, ball socket. You can lock it, so that's like 0 degrees. But if you put it limited, you can put the bounce, which means it can overdo, but it will bounce back. And the spring means how much does it want to go in the original position. But it is something that you have to experiment with, so you can't just put like a number in there and expect it to work. You have to experiment a little bit and use a little bit of experience. And damping is pretty much friction, so it can swing, but it will slowly stop swinging or resist the motion. So that's it about the hinges pretty much. So just let's go to an example. So after a little cut, we're here. I just created a little world. Nothing special, but I wanted everything in there. A lot of dynamic rigid bodies, the bricks, a hinge, and a kinematic rigid body. which is gonna move right here. Boom. So there are keys. Let's delete them that are from testing. So let's see the simulation. It's moving, but it's moving very slowly because there are a lot of objects and it's calculating them. But that doesn't matter, it's still gonna show. So let's see. Now the platform is gonna go away. And there goes the wrecking ball. So it's gonna gain speed, it's a little slow. But you have to be patient. It's moving slowly. It's like a match. I should talk about it like it's a football game or whatever. It's coming closer, and there's the hit. And this is something that's pretty beautiful. It's really efficient compared to Reactor because I used to wait for hours for something like that. And it's way easier to set up, but still lacking a few features. But well. But you also have to be careful that if you put the bricks on each other, that you don't like intersect them or something because they explode out of each other. And now a little few other things I should explain to you. You have to see that the weights are right. You have a few presets here which work most of the time. And it's gonna calculate from the volume and from the density how heavy the object is. So this way you can make the calculation a little more realistic. And a few other things are that this hinge only works with kinematic and dynamic rigid bodies. So even though this part is not moving, it's a kinematic body, because otherwise it wouldn't work. Because Mass Effect's like, no, it's not a rigid body, at least not a dynamic or kinematic, so no. Another cool thing is you can go to start simulation, or you can without animation. That means everything kinematic is not used at all in the simulation. So this thing is never move away. Like you see down here, the time slider is not moving at all. So that's good for previewing if something is gonna act weird. And now for the end. Now we have a few cool things, but we want to use it. You have to bake the thing. So go on here and just click bake all. So you don't have to calculate it beforehand. You can just say bake and it's gonna bake, which will take some time. I'm gonna not gonna make you wait it out, but let's cut when it's done. So now it's baked, your cookies, whatever you did, they're done. You see, I'm gonna drag it over here and woo! That's exactly what you want. Let's go to a more cinematic view of this. Like right here. Just an epic view of it. Boom! So that's what's gonna happen if your house is destroyed by a gigantic wrecking ball. You can also click play to see it in real time, but I'm always dragging it, I don't know why, it's just a habit. There, boom. So this pretty much concludes the tutorial. I hope I could help you. If you have questions, just put them in the comments. Like I said, it's a voiceover, and I might not sound very excited, but that's because I'm listening to what I'm saying in the tutorial and trying to translate it. So from the ground up tutorials are gonna come later. I hope you liked it. Also, if you liked the tutorial and if you want to be posted about other tutorials we create and other short movies, whatever, click the subscribe button. It really helps us out. Also, if you want to, click like and whatever, and follow us on Facebook or Twitter. Whatever you do, I hope you liked everything you saw. And this is Martin for Orobytes, and I'm signing out. Bye!